Yes, as Clay mentioned, the Celtics season is over. And saying that now on May the 17th, I think a lot of us didn't expect that end date to be that soon, particularly with the way the Celtics had the exact same team, essentially, from last year's championship winning team to where they are now, and Celtics losing last night in Game 6 to the New York Knicks. And, 118-81. Game was really over after the first half, maybe after the first quarter, where we look at it. Great resilience in Game 5. You got to give them credit. Without Tatum, some of the guys stepped up, Hauser, Cornette. But that being said, Clay, the Celtics team, if you really look under the microscope here, going forward here with the financial commitments that the Celtics have to Tatum and Brown with their contracts going forward, $500 million projected, north of that. I think, as the saying is, back to reality and the party's over for the Celtics. And I think some moves are definitely going to be made in the offseason. Some rotation players are certainly going to be on the way out. And the Celtics are going to have, Brad Stevens in particular, is going to have to look in the mirror and going to say, where does this team go from here? You're going to be out without Tatum for a little bit. You have Jaylen Brown. Where do the Celtics go from here is the great question. And
but before we go there, what do you think went wrong?
Well,
maybe because they lost the first two games.
Well, they lost.
With the
that's
full
what wrong.
of
Yeah. Well, that's unacceptable. I mean, the fact of the matter is, losing with your full team the first two games when you're up 20 points is completely and utterly unacceptable.
Abysmal,
and a disgrace.
Yes.
Now, Game 4 they should have lost because, and that was the game Tatum went down in. And I'm not saying they should have lost because Tatum went down. And listen, I'm a fan of Jason Tatum. He's great. Okay, there's no dispute of that. But I'm just going to say it as it is. I have never seen a player like Jason Tatum, and a lot of these players, it's not just him, it's the Missoula game plan, who just wildly shoot threes. I've never seen it. I've never seen it just continue to shoot threes, and they don't attack the interior. Like, whatever happened to the easy lay-in? Like, look at the Knicks, and it's just a totally different offensive game plan that Tom Thibodeau has set up, and every coach is different. But even Tatum in particular, though, I just it almost feels like sometimes a deep, this is not like your routine corner three. This is deep threes that they're taking, and oftentimes just not even close.
Yeah.
And so you got to wonder going into the offseason, assuming Joe Mazzulla is going to be back as the head coach, which I would expect him to be. I don't think Brad Stevens and ownership is going to fire Joe Mazzulla, but assuming he's back, a significant change in your offensive scheme has to be done. And the reliance on the three-pointers, and everybody says, well, when they're on, they're on. That's great. But when they're off, they're off. And here we are now.
Take the ball to the hoop. I have a couple of issues that I'm gonna get into. Okay. Last night the Celtics laid down, crawled into a fetal position, and they got the boots put to them. Now, losing the first two games by continuing to shoot threes when they were not falling and refusing to take the ball to the hoop, which is what we're talking about. And when one is up by 20, now this, your whole thing, you start seeing things different as you start analyzing. When you're up by 20, the object is to go up to 30. We all know that, yes. But you're up by 20, and now you have the other team at your mercy. So you should take the ball to the hoop. You should punish them. You should grind it out once you're up by 20. Grind it out. Take the ball to the hoop. Get fouled, because they will have to foul you now. They don't want you to score. You're letting them off the hook easy by shooting a three. And if you miss it, and they hit a three, it becomes a 6-point swing, just like that. Okay? So when you're up by 20, instead of continuing the philosophy of shooting threes, now is the time to take the ball to the hoop and make them pay for letting you get up by 20 and further put the foot on their neck, which they didn't do in any of the first two in the first two games. And it came back to bite them right in the butt. It came back to haunt them because they lost the first two games at home and put them in the hole. And I'm listening to Jaylen Brown say to reporters, they still got to beat us 4. Excuse me, you're already 2 games in the hole. They only got to beat you 2. With that mentality, you're taking it wrong. At least that's what I believe. You can't have that mentality, well, they still got to beat us 4. You're already down 2. They only got to beat you 2.
Right.
You're not catching on. You're in dire straits. You're in dire straits, and you have to turn it on right now. That didn't get done. My second really big problem with what Joe Mazzulla did, that first one was to continue to shoot threes when they were up by 20, is playing Kristaps Porzingis. Because the mentality of a teammate or the mentality of a team, especially a team that depends on a scorer such as Kristaps to be out there. I mean, to be that guy. He's one of those guys. He is a Tatum, a Brown. Porzingis is one of those guys. He's one of the top three.
Certainly getting paid that way.
Yeah, and when you see your guy out there and you have the ball, if he's open, you're going to pass him the ball. But in this case, it's the wrong thing to do because he's injured. He's basically injured, okay? I don't even know why they didn't even classify it as injury. The guy can't play. He can barely breathe. His illness, this viral infection that he has weakened him to the point that just getting up and down the court takes effort, okay? But that aside, when you see your guy out there, you're going to pass him the ball if he's open. That's your mentality. You've been doing it for 80 games, 60 games, 100 and something odd games if you go over 2 years, okay? So Mazzulla, by putting him out there, hurt his team. Not only was he putting the player at risk, because you shouldn't put that player at risk with this type of infection, it weakened him to the point where he couldn't breathe. He already stated such. Well, why would you put him back out there? But you also ruined your team's mentality, what you should have done, or what I think you should have done. It's treated like an injury, not play him at all. That way your team goes into the game prepared not to have Kristaps Porzingis, and now they're playing the way they know they can play when Kristaps is not there. When he's there, they're going to play differently, except he's not that player. It was just total confusion all around, and it falls on the back of Joe Mazzulla.